Hare Krishna. Can you hear my voice? Am I audible? Okay, let's start. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. We have been discussing from the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. On Friday, we did complete the third chapter of the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll do a quick recap of that, and then we will start with the fourth chapter today. The third chapter was titled as The Lord Appears Before King Nabi. If you remember, King Nabi was the eldest son of King Agnidra. Agnidra was the eldest son of Priyavrat Maharaj. So that is the story that is being narrated here. So Nabi also desired sons, so he worshipped the Supreme Lord with great attention, along with his wife Meru Devi, who had not produced any sons. And when Nabi was performing his prescribed duties, of course, even if that prescribed duties means the duties of his Varna and Ashrama, that he was doing for Lokasangraha purposes, that is very clear. Because it is mentioned that he was a great devotee. And the Lord, out of great affection for his devotees, in order to fulfill the desire of his devotee, the Lord appeared with his beautiful form. And it is very clearly mentioned that the Lord appeared only because of Nabi's performance of Bhakti Yoga, pure devotional service. Okay. The priests and King Nabi were very joyful, having obtained the opportunity to take the darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and began worshipping the Supreme Lord with great reverence by offering suitable ingredients. And the form of the Lord, the beautiful form of the Lord is described. And we saw in detail the prayers offered by the priests. I will not get into the detail. We have already recollected it a couple of times. And then after offering the prayers towards the end, the Lord Shukadeva Goswami, while narrating to Parikshit Maharaj, he said, the Lord, thus praised by the priest and worshipped by Nabi, he spoke with compassion. And the Lord spoke to the priest and Nabi, he said, you have asked for a difficult boon. Actually, only I am similar to myself. There is no one else similar to myself. But the words of the Brahmanas cannot go wrong, and it should not be false. Therefore, I will myself appear in my partial form as a son of King Nabi. And then, after saying this, the Lord left. The Lord then appeared as Rishabhadev, as a son of Nabi, for three purposes. The first purpose is he was very much satisfied with the sages. And the second was he wanted to please King Nabi. And the third reason was that he desired to show the path of the naked performers of austerities. Okay. He wanted to show, he had a desire to show the path of the naked performers of austerities. So how that Avadut ashram is actually lived, what is it that people are supposed to do when they take up to that kind of an Avadut lifestyle, okay, that he came to show. So this is where we ended the discussion on Friday. The third chapter ended here. So now we will start with the fourth chapter. So the fourth chapter is titled as The Activities of Rishabhadev. That is what we will start today. Let's see how far we can get. Okay. So here, Srila Shukadeva Goswami continues with the narration. Give me 1 second. Okay. So, Srila Shukadeva Goswami narrates, he says, Ataha tam उत्पत्त्यैव अभिव्यञ्जमान भगवद लक्षणम साम्य उपशम वैराग्य ऐश्वर्य महाविभूतिभिर अनुदिनम एदमान अनुभावम प्रकृत्यः प्रजा ब्राह्मणा देवताश्च अवनितल समवनाय समवनाय अतितराम जगृदुः. Okay. So it says Prakritayah Praja Brahmana Devatascha. The ministers, citizens, Brahmanas and Devatas. Atitaram Jagruduhu. They greatly desired Tam, that this son of Anga, Abhivyanjamana Bhagavad Lakshanam, who clearly displayed the qualities of the Supreme Lord, Utpatyaiva, right from when he was born, Anudinam Edamana, and these characteristics of the Supreme Lord, it increased, these qualities increased day by day. Mahavibhuti vihi, in great qualities. And his qualities increased day by day. It is not that he had fixed qualities. Right from birth, he showed the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and those qualities only increased day by day. And his power increased day by day. Aishwarya, Vairagya, his detachment increased day by day. Upashama, his sense control increased day by day. Samya, his equal vision increased day by day. Avanitala, Samavanaya. So, right, so the ministers, Brahmanas, Devatas greatly desired that this Rishabhadev should rule the earth. Should rule the earth here refers to only the Bharatavarsha, because Rishabhadev was not ruling the whole Bhumandala. He was ruling only the Bharatavarsha because he had others who were also ruling the other Varshas. Because Agnidra had uh, Agnidra, sorry, uh, Priyavrat Maharaj himself had 9 sons. And he divided the Bhumandala into 9 parts, and he already handed it over to each one of his 9 sons. So now, in that line of, and the eldest son was Agnidra. So Agnidra had the Bharatavarsha. It was not called as Bharatavarsha at that time. It was called something else. It was not even called as Ajanaba Varsha, because it was addressed as Ajanaba Varsha after Rishabhadev, who was born out of Nabi. So prior to being Bharata Varsha, it was called as Ajanaba Varsha, and prior to Ajanaba Varsha, it was called something else. Okay. And he handed over that to Agnidra. Agnidra handed it over to Anga, and now Anga is handing over the rule of this Bharata Varsha or Ajanaba Varsha only to Rishabhadev. So even though here the phrase that is used is Avanitala Samavanaya, in order to rule the earth. Here neither does the word earth or Avanitala refer to the whole Bhumandala, nor does it refer only to the what to say, the Bhumandala. It does not refer to the Bhumandala, and it does not refer to the Bhuloka. Sorry, what is it? this earth planet also. So, Bharat, it does not refer to the Bharata Kanda also. Okay. It refers to Bharata Varsha, within which a small part is this earth planet, what we call as earth planet. The spherical earth planet is a small part of Bhumandala, of Bharata Varsha. But he was ruling the whole Bharata Varsha. Okay. So here it is mentioned that the fourth chapter describes how Rishabhadev produced 100 sons headed by Bharata and satisfied all the desires of the citizens. Jagruduhu means they desired. Tasyaha va ittam Varshmana Variyasa Brihatshlokeena cha Ojasa Balena Shriya Yashasa Virya Shauryabhyam cha Pita Rishabha iti idam nama chakara. Tasya ittam Varshmana, because of his excellent body, Variyasa Brihatshlokeena, which was praised by many poets, Ojasa Balena Shriya Yashasa Virya Saurabhyam Shauryabhyam, and his mental, physical strength, his beauty, fame, influence, and courage. Pita Rishabha iti idam namachakara. Because of all these wonderful qualities, his father called him as Rishabha. Rishabha means the best. So, Rishabha means the best. The Lord called him Rishabha, or his father Anga named him as Rishabha because he had all these qualities to an extraordinary degree. So therefore, clearly he was the best amongst all human beings. So therefore, he was named as Rishabha by his father. The word Varshmana is modified by Variyasa and Brihatshlokeena. Virya means influence and Shaurya means fortitude. Yasya hindraha spardamano Bhagavan Varshena Vavarsha tad avadharya Bhagavan Rishabhadevo Yogeshwaraha Prahasya Atmamog Yoga Mayaya Swavarsham Ajanabam Nama Abhyavarshat. Bhagavan Indra. So there is a narration of his power here. How powerful was Rishabhadev? He says, Bhagavan Indra, powerful Indra, Spardamanaha, who felt envious, Navavarsha Yasya Varshe. He stopped the rain from falling on his Varsha, which is Bharata Varsha. Tad Avadarya, understanding this, Bhagavan Rishabhadevaha, Lord Rishabhadev, Yogeshwaraha, who is the master of yoga, Prahasya, he just smiled, Abhyavarshat, and he poured rain. Ajanabam Nama Swavarsham, on his Varsha by the name of Ajanaba, Atma Yoga Mayaya, by his power of yoga. So he was not dependent because he was an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. When out of envy, when um, Indra stopped pouring rain on his Varsha, he said, fine, no issues. And he started himself pouring rain. By his own Yogamaya potency, he created rain and he started showering on his Varsha. The country was called Ajanab after Rishabhadev and his father Nabi. So Aja Naba. Naba is Nabi. Aja means born out of. Ajanaba Varsha means the Varsha which belonged to one who was born out of Nabi, which is Rishabhadev. Even though grammatically it should be Ajanaba, by poetic license it was called as Ajanaba. Okay. Then he continues. Nabistu yata abhilashitam suprajastvam avarudyati pramoda bhara vihvalo gadgadaksharaya gira swairam grihita naraloka sadharmam bhagavantam purana purusham maya vilasita matir vatsa tateti sa anuragam upalalayan param nirvritim upagatah. So it is mentioned that Yata Abhilashitam Suprajastvam. Having attained his desire for an excellent son, Avarudya Ati Pramoda Baravihvalaha, and overwhelmed with great joy, Maya Vilasita Matihi, thinking Bhagavantam Purana Purusham, thinking of the Supreme Lord, Swairam Grihita Naraloka Sadharmam, who accepted the ways of an ordinary human being as his son. Um, Nabihi Gadgadaksharaya Gira. With a faltering voice, he addressed Rishabhadev. uh, he addressed Rishabhadev. Vatsa Tata iti. As, oh son, oh my dear son, like that with great affection. Hmm. Sa Anuragam Upalalayan. And raising him with affection, Param Nirvritim Upagataha. He attained great bliss uh, while raising him with great affection. Okay. So he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Anga, out of his natural parental affection, he could consider him as his own son, and with great affection and you know the symptoms of ecstasy of love that he had for his son Rishabhadev, he took care of him very, very nicely, with raised him with great affection. Avarudya means attaining. He thought of the Lord as his son, Maya Vilasita Matihi. Maya can mean illusion or intelligence according to Amarakosha Trikanda Sheshaha. This is a dictionary. Vidita Anuragam Apaura Prakriti Janapado Raja Nabir Atmajam Samayasetu Rakshayam Abhishitya Brahmaneshu Supa Brahmaneshu Upanidaya Sahameru Devya Vishalayam Prasanna Nipunena Tapasa Samadhi Yogena Naranarayanakyam Bhagavantam Vasudevam Upasinaha Kalena Tan Mahimanam Avapa. Then it is mentioned that King Nabi Apaura Prakriti Janapado, who took into consideration the opinion of the population and ministers, Atmajam Abhishitya, he enthroned his son, Vidita Anuragam, because he understood that all the citizens had lot of affection for Rishabhadev. Anga uh, also took into consideration the opinion of the population and the ministers, and he enthroned his son. Brahmaneshu Upanidaya, by entrusting him to the Brahmanas who could guide him. Samaya Setu Rakshayam. In order to protect the laws of proper conduct, he handed him over to the Brahmanas. Sahameru Devya, so Nabi along with Meru Devi, Naranarayanakyam Bhagavantam Vasudevam Upasinaha. He then worshipped the Lord in the form of Naranarayana, Vishalayam in Badrikashrama, Tapasa Samadhi Yogena. By austerities and concentration, he worshipped Naranarayan Rishi in uh, Badrikashram. Hmm. Prasanna Nipunena, which were capable of attaining results for the happiness of all beings. Kalena tad mahimanam avapa. In time he attained Vaikunta, which is considered to be the glory of the Lord. Tad mahimanam avapa. Like that. So, so Nabi enthroned Rishabhadev as his son. He understood that all the citizens are having great affection for his son. He said, okay, it is time to move on. So he went to Badrika Ashram to perfect his life along with Meru Devi. considering the as a king, he had, like we were discussing the other day, this Vanaprastha ashram. Yesterday also in our sessions, we were discussing these things. In some of the offline sessions, we were discussing the same theme. As a king, uh, uh, King Nabi had the responsibility to set the right example. So, as a grihastha, he took care of his Kshatriya duties properly, so that the citizens, they also understand the importance of taking care of their Varna Dharma and Ashrama Dharma properly. But also, then after his Grihastha ashram, the next comes Vanaprastha ashram. So he is supposed to set a good example for that also. So he left his home and went to the forest, because uh, the need to set the right example for the common populace was there. Otherwise, in the system of bhakti, in the line of bhakti, uh, the principle is anukulyasya sankalpo pratikulyasya varjanam. The principle is anukulyasya sankalpo pratikulyasya varjanam. So, in the strictest sense, does it require that someone has to give up their householder life, or at least their sons and children, and um, leave the house and go to the forest necessarily? No, in bhakti that is not needed. On the platform of bhakti, this is not a strict requirement. You know, the principle is anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. If you think staying at home is entangling too much in thinking about uh, you know material things, then one may choose to move separately. Okay, but if that is not the case, if there is an inspiring devotional atmosphere at home, which really inspires one to practice bhakti nicely, then one can continue. Okay, this is not a hard and fast rule. And also in the traditional varnashrama system, if you see, when you move from one ashrama to the other ashrama, there is no looking back. It is considered as a social, it is considered to be socially inappropriate if someone who has moved on from one ashrama to the next ashrama to look back and come back to the previous ashrama. So there is no question of coming back to Purva ashrama in the traditional Vedic system. So if someone has become a grihastha from being a brahmachari, there is no question of again returning back to brahmacharya. Or if he has moved on from grihastha to vanaprastha, it's not that he can come back to live the grihastha life. Because in the traditional Vedic system, if you see, the whole varna, the ashrama system, Srila Prabhupada called it spiritual order. He called the four varnas as social order. Okay. And he called the four ashramas as spiritual order. Why? Because each of the ashramas indicated a kind of uh, natural, gradual spiritual progress. Okay. In the brahmacharya life, one goes to Gurukul and learns the essential education according to adhikaras. Then he comes to the stage of grihastha life. But that grihastha life is optional. When that grihastha life is optional in the traditional varnashrama system, if the person, if the child, if the guru finds that the child's heart is very pure and ready to directly meditate on the absolute truth, so then the guru does not push him to enter into the grihastha ashram. He can directly take up to sannyas and perfect his life. Okay. But if the guru realizes that the heart is not sufficiently pure, then the means of purification of the heart in the traditional Vedic system or the gradual path is the Grihastha ashram. And as we saw the other day, when he enters the Grihastha ashram, first by practicing Sakama Karma Yoga, his goal becomes purified. Then subsequently by practice of Nishkama Karma Yoga, his anarthas get purified. Then subsequently, he reaches the stage of Jnana. Okay. So where he next enters into the Vanaprastha life. So Vanaprastha life is the testing period where there is a test of whether the purification is complete or not. So there is a lot of austerities where the husband and wife go to the forest, perform austerities. And it is not that when someone has taken up to the Vanaprastha life, and if they realize that no, we are unable to tolerate the austerities, you cannot return back to Grihastha life. That is not allowed. It is a one-way traffic. You go in one direction only. There is no opposite direction at all. You have to keep moving. And subsequently, when by practice of the Vanaprastha ashram, when you realize that yes, I am satisfied with my purification, then you go to the final ashrama, which is sannyasa ashram. And in sannyasa ashram, there is exclusive focus on attaining liberation by meditating on the super soul and other such practices. Okay. So this is the case of, and from sannyasa ashram, there is no question of returning back to vanaprastha or grihastha. That is socially unacceptable. Okay. That is socially unacceptable. So this is the way in which the system has been designed. So all these ashramas are, in one sense, the subs are it's one-way traffic. Okay. But on the path of bhakti, especially in Kali Yuga, if we were in any other yuga where the general society outside had all these practices perfectly followed, then definitely there is a lokasangraha need from the devotees side also to perfectly follow what the greater world is following. But otherwise, strictly from a spiritual progress perspective, the spiritual progress of the devotee depends on the principle of anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam, and not in the strict rules and regulations of varna and ashrama. So now we are discussing about nabi. We are discussing about nabi. We are discussing about nabi taking up to what to say, vanaprastha life. We are taking up to vanaprastha life, but strictly for his spiritual emancipation, that vanaprastha is not necessarily a compulsory thing. Because he is a grihastha, because he is a kshatriya, there is no sannyas for him. Vanaprastha is the last ashrama. That vanaprastha for his spiritual emancipation is not a non-negotiable thing. Yes, for lokasangraha purpose, to set the right example for his citizens, it is needed that he had to take up to vanaprastha ashram. But for his spiritual emancipation or his attaining a spiritual goal of, prema, that is not needed. Not that he should not take up to it, but it's not compulsory. Okay. So for devotees, is it that it is compulsory that, the Shastra says Panchashordvam Vanam Vrajet. After 51 has to go to the forest. Is it compulsory for devotees? No. Maybe for one who has taken up to the gradual path of emancipation, it is needed. And even that is not like that you are 50 years old and then you immediately leave. Okay. In today's day and age, 50 years, some people get married when they are 35, 40 years old. Okay. And then they slowly start, they may manage to beget a child when they are 42, 43. Okay. And when they are 50, the child is 7 years old. They cannot say, Pancha Shordvam Vanam Rajet, I will go to the forest. No. Okay. You will have to take care of that responsibility, settle the child, and then only you can go. And on top of that, it is not necessary. If you are practicing everything properly, then it is assumed that in 25 years of your grahastha life, by strictly following the varnashrama dharma, it is possible that you may have attained sufficient purification of your anarthas within the heart that you are ready to attain, that you are ready to take up to vanaprastha life. But if you have not attained that level of purification, you cannot prematurely push yourself to vanaprastha life also. Okay. So, but in the case of devotees, the purification is not dependent on practice of varnashrama duties. It does not depend on the practice of the rules and regulations of varna and ashrama. It depends on bhakti. And bhakti can be performed wherever there is anukul situation. That anukul situation for someone may be in the grihastha ashram. For someone, it may be in the vanaprastha ashram. For someone, it may be in the brahmacharya ashram. Wherever it is anukul, you accept it. And sometimes what was anukul now may not necessarily be anukul 10 years from now, 15 years from now. The situation may change, right? So therefore, if you strictly follow this principle of anukulyasa sankalpa pratikulyasa varjanam, it is quite possible that someone may consider taking up to vanaprastha thinking that it will be anukul for me, later realize that actually this is much more difficult than what I anticipated. It was a wrong calculation. I think I would be much more stably be able to perform bhakti in the grahastha ashram only. There is no, if one comes to such a conclusion, let's say after 2 or 3 years considering vanaprastha life, actually he can come back. He can come back to grahastha ashram and practice. As long as there is no social, kind of stigma where people may start people around him may seriously get disturbed. If those kind of social considerations or lokasangraha considerations are there, then he has to think about it. But if such a system is not there, people really don't care whether in which ashram you are, or maybe they don't even understand which ashram you are. In such cases, then we have to see, anukulyasa sankalpa pratikulyasa varjanam. Okay. This is important. So in Kali Yuga and especially in the path of bhakti, what we are seeing right now, even though we have like uh, in name, at least we call it as brahmacharya ashram. We call it as brahmacharya ashram. We may call it as vanaprastha ashram. Also, sometimes we may call it as sannyas ashram. But these are not designations which we have according to the traditional qualification. Okay. So, but everything is like a bhakti adaptation. Okay. Now we have within either the Gaudiya Math or the ISKCON, we may have the Brahmacharya Ashram. I mean, this is my understanding of what Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur or Srila Prabhupada would have envisioned. It's not that everyone within the Brahmacharya ashram has absolutely, no, especially those who have crossed 25 years old. It's not that they may not have any material desires. and they are direct sannyas material. They can completely surpass the grihastha and vanaprastha ashramas and directly take up to sannyas. It may not necessarily be like that. Okay. So ideally, if that impure heart is there, then at 25 they should get married actually, so that they can purify themselves through the gradual path of grihastha ashram. Okay. Sakama karma yoga, nishkama karma yoga will gradually purify them. And then they can come to the vanaprastha life or sannyas life subsequently like that. But what if on the path of bhakti, someone who has taken up to, who has accepted the brahmacharya ashram in a, what if after 25, he still has material desires, which is in 99.99% of case, it may be there. There may be some attraction to opposite sex also. It may be there, little bit. But still, in my understanding, what Prabhupada envisioned is that, okay, the person may feel that material desires may be there, but still I feel that staying with devotees in an ashram setup gives me the best vantage point to progress spiritually. It gives me the best vantage point to progress spiritually. He may think like that. Because even though my material desires are not gone, material desires are there, but still I feel that if I get married and get into grihastha type of setup, it will give me lot more obstacles to steadily practice bhakti. So I will try to kind of tolerate my material desires and continue within the brahmacharya ashram. So he may continue 25, 30, 35, 40. He may continue like that. And even at 40, it's not necessary that its anarthas are completely gone. But he may still be in the brahmacharya ashram. Okay. But in the traditional Vedic system, this is a strict no. At 25, if your heart has impurities, then you have to necessarily enter into the grahastha ashram and get purified by the process of nishkama karma yoga, sakama karma yoga. But on the path of bhakti, because the purification comes from bhakti itself, these rules and regulations are not necessarily so strictly followed. But yes, if a person in the brahmacharya ashram has intolerable material desires, uh, intolerable attraction to the opposite sex and such things, then definitely, even for his stable practice of bhakti, staying in the brahmacharya ashram would be pratikul. It may not be anukul. So such a person will definitely have to take up to the grihastha ashram. Okay. So the application of these principles sometimes may seem very similar, but there is a big difference. And unless we understand these nuance, it is very difficult. And similarly, I will tell something which is even more may seem to be little sensitive, and maybe it might be borderline controversial also. Okay. It may be borderline controversial also. And it has to be understood in the proper sense. Okay. Now, let me change the ashram. For example, let us take a sannyasi who took up to the sannyas ashram with a great zeal to preach. Of course, we do understand that on the path of bhakti, especially in the Gaudiya Vaishnavism, we don't follow the traditional rules of sannyas or qualification for sannyas that one has to be completely, the anartha nivritti should be 100% only, then you can take up to sannyas and you can completely focus on meditating on the absolute truth. Okay. That principle is not followed in that qualification of sannyas is not followed in our line. In our line, mostly sannyas is like a preaching opportunity, a greater preaching opportunity when someone shows incredible preaching zeal or enthusiasm, then sannyas is given to encourage them. Okay. But such a person over a period of time may realize that actually, yes, I did take up to sannyas, but I realized that For my spiritual growth, staying in this ashram is no longer anukul for my bhakti. To get married is what is sustainable for me. He may think like that. Okay. On the path of bhakti, it is not at all a problem. Ideally, he should do that because the principle is anukulyasya sankalpo pratikulyasya varjanam. So this is where there has to be some consideration of loka sangraha, because if the society sees the sannyasi not necessarily as a person who has taken up to it because um, he wants to preach, but if they think that every sannyasi is completely 100% pure at heart, if that kind of an expectation is there, and then there is always a problem. When they change, then it causes serious loss of faith or doubts in the heart of the society. So therefore, the in the Bhakti Shastras, there is a very clear definitions in terms of advancement. Kanishtadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, Uttamadhikari. The definitions don't say that all sannyasis are Uttamadhikaris, all grihasthas, all vanaprasthas are Madhyamadhikaris, and all grihasthas are Kanishtadhikari. It does not say like that. There are clear symptoms of Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttama, and they can be in any ashrama. Okay, they can be in any ashrama. So one should actually internalize uh, these definitions properly according to the definitions of bhakti, so that one does not get too much carried away with the ashram designations, which are actually very much secondary within the realm of bhakti. The principle is anukulyasya sankalpo pratikulyasya varjanam. So if an honest sannyasi within the realm of bhakti realizes that at some point, no, actually I prematurely took up to this, uh, this ashrama, I would be better situated as a grihastha. That's very good actually. And ideally, if a properly educated, mature society of devotees will appreciate, and they say no, and they will facilitate. They will appreciate and facilitate. Nothing wrong in that. Nothing wrong in that. Because on the path of bhakti, the major issue is offenses. Okay. The major issue is offenses. As long as one is not offending, there can be mistakes in terms of what to say, some decisions that we may take in life. There may be mistakes in terms of some decisions that one may take in life. They can be rectified later. It's not an issue. Okay, it's not an issue. So the point is that these ashramas, where Nabi has taken up to Vanaprastha ashram, there could be two considerations. One is that was very suitable for his own practice of bhakti, and or another thing is for lokasangraha purposes. If you see the time and age, those were days where the greater society was very much clearly following the varnashrama system properly. So the kings had this tremendous responsibility to do things for Loka Sangraha purposes, even though the kings may be internally very great devotees. Okay. But how that exactly translates on the path of bhakti is something that we need to very clearly understand. Hmm. Is something that we need to very clearly understand. Okay. So we cannot say that, oh, Rishabdev was a perfected devotee. What to speak of, or sorry, in this case, Nabi. Nabi was a perfected devotee. Still, he took up to Vanaprastha ashram. So therefore, this shows that we should also take up to Vanaprastha ashram. No, not necessarily, So if that is exactly what Srila Prabhupada or the Acharyas write in the purports, then we accept that. Okay. So therefore, these Varna considerations and ashrama considerations are accepted on the principle of Anukulyasa Sankalpa Pratikulyasa Varjanam. Okay. On that principle only they are accepted. And on that principle they can be rejected also. Okay. But for that one has to be very careful to consider the Lokasangraha considerations. One cannot be very selfish, right? Just like in a family, you oftentimes see, especially in, I mean, I'm sure in 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 responsible families, if you see, if an elder brother is there, and if he has 6 or 7 younger sisters who need to get married, okay, and the father is not there, father leaves. So you will see that the elder brother oftentimes does not get married. He ensures that all his 6 younger sisters, he will take responsibility, earn the money, arrange for their marriage, get them married. And by the time all of them are married, he might have crossed the marriageable age also. Okay. So in a family, you do see persons, even though they may have desires to get married, they may have desires to beget children, but considering the responsibility as the head of a family, they may sacrifice sometimes those desires. So the point is that oftentimes as devotees also, we have to see, we cannot be very selfish considering I will only think what is anukul for my bhakti, okay, for my personal bhakti. Even though I don't care what kind of social disturbances it may create in the greater society, we cannot practice bhakti like that because that may eventually turn out to be not so anukul for our bhakti also. Okay. So when we are thinking, we have to think about the greater society also. Uh, uh, but in thinking about the greater society, uh, we should also not act in ways which are absolutely detrimental for our devotional service. Both have to be balanced. Both have to be balanced. We have to take both into consideration. Hmm. Anyways, so these are some points because here there is a discussion of the Vanaprastha ashram taken up by uh, Nabi, King Nabi, and because this discussion from yesterday was fresh in my mind, so I thought I will just share this here. Anyways, Apaura Prakriti Janapadaha means Nabi who took everyone from the population up to the ministers into consideration for enthroning his son. He enthroned his son for whom the people had great affection in order to protect the laws of good conduct. Samaya Setu. Nabi worshipped the Lord in Badrika Ashram with austerities capable of bringing results for the happiness of all beings. He attained Vaikunta, the glory of the Lord. Yasyaha Pandaveya Shloka Udaharanti. O Pandaveya, O Parikshit, the citizens recited verses to praise Nabi. So, what did they say? Kahanu Puman, what man? Sorry. Konu tat karma rajarsher naber anu acharet puman. Apatyatam agadyasya harihi shuddena karmana. So this is a verse glorifying King Nabi. So what did they say? Kahanu Puman, what man? Rajarshehe nabehe karma anu acharet. Who is that man who could follow King Nabi? Yasya harihi apatyatam agad, for whom the Lord became his son, Shuddhena Karmana, by the execution of pure bhakti. Because by his execution of pure bhakti, the Lord himself became his son. Who could follow or who could kind of, uh, yeah, for whom the Lord became his son by execution of pure bhakti. Okay. By execution of pure bhakti, it was such a bhakti that he attracted even the Supreme Lord to become his own son. Like that. They glorify King Nabi. Shuddhena karmana means by pure bhakti. Brahmanyonya kuto nabe vipra mangala pujitaha. Yassa barhishi yajnesham darshayamasu rojasa. In another verse glorifying King Nabi, they say, Nabehe anyah kutah. Who other than King Nabi, Brahmanyah, was affectionate to the Brahmanas. Vipra, the Brahmanas, Mangala Pujitaha, pleased with his charity, Darshayamasuhu, revealed to him, Yagnesham, the Lord, Ojasa, by the power of their bhakti, Yasya Barhishi, during their sacrifice. So, yes, who other than King Nabi was affectionate to the Brahmanas? So they glorify him as having a very affectionate disposition towards the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas who were very pleased with his charity revealed to him the Lord by the power of their bhakti during sacrifice. Okay. So the Brahmanas were pleased by his donations and other acts so that auspiciousness was created. Or they were worshipped by auspiciousness since the king was a devotee. By the power of bhakti, they revealed the Lord to him. So now he has begotten Rishabhadev as his son. He has enthroned Rishabhadev. Now, how the citizens glorified King Nabi, that has also been mentioned. Now, coming back to Rishabhadev, Nabi's episode is over, or the description of Nabi's episode is over. Okay, so uh, now let us come to Rishabhadev. Atah Bhagavan Rishabhadevah Swavarsham Karmakshetram Anumanyamanah Pradarshita Gurukulavaso Labdavarer Gurubir Anugnato Grihamedinam Dharman Anushikshamano Jayantyam Indradattayam Ubayalakshanam Karma Samamnaya Amnatam Abhiyunjan Atmajanam Atmasamananam Shatam Janayamasa. Okay. Ataha Bhagavan Rishabhadevah. Then Lord Rishabhadev Swavarsham karma kshetram anumanyamanaha. Knowing his kingdom to be the place to perform karma, Gurukula Vasaha. He lived in the Gurukula, Pradarshita, to show others that they should also do this. So now, Rishabhadev was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Uh, uh, he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He did not have to stay in a Gurukula, but it is mentioned that he also stayed in the Gurukula. Why? In order to show others that they should also do this. Gurubir Anugnato, taking the permission of his teachers, Labda Varair, who received gifts, Grihamedinam Dharmam Anushikshamanaha. He then taught the path of household life. So he taught that it is important to stay in um, uh, uh, it was important to stay in the Gurukul. Then he accepted the Grahasthashram. And again here it is mentioned, Grahasthashram is called as Grihamedinan Dharman. So the word, we have discussed this many times, the word Grihamedi is not necessarily, it does not always have a negative connotation. A Grihamedi just means a householder, that's all. It just means a householder. It does not necessarily mean that a Grihamedi is an attached householder or a materialistic householder. Sometimes, when the word Grihamedi is used in conjunction with Grihastha, then such a contrast is created. Okay. Then such a contrast is created. Then the Grihamedi becomes the attached Grihastha, attached householder, and Grihastha becomes the detached householder. Okay. But by default, um, Grihamedi just means a householder. That's all. So he then taught the path of household life. Grihamedinam. dharman anusikshamanaha, karma abhiyunjan, and engaging in activities samamnaya amnatam ubhayalakshanam, according to the Shruti and Smriti, practiced as instructed by the Brahmanas. Janayamasa, and then he begot Jayantyam Indradattayam, in his wife Jayanti given by Indra, Atmajanam Shatam, 100 sons, Atma Samananam, who were similar to himself. So this is about Rishabhadev, uh, understanding that his kingdom to be the place of to perform karma. He showed people by accepting Gurukul. He lived in the Gurukul and he showed to others the importance of staying in Gurukul. Then taking permission of his teachers, he then taught the path of household life to others. Okay. And while in household life, he perfectly followed all the teachings according to the Shruti and the Smriti Shastras as instructed by the Brahmanas. Then in his wife Jayanti, he begot 100 sons who were similar to himself. Anumanyamanaha means knowing. He showed others that they should accept Gurukul life. He taught Dharma after taking permission from teachers who received gifts. Performing karmas of the Shruti and Smriti, he practiced as instructed by the Brahmanas. As instructed by the Brahmanas. Medini says, Amnaya means scripture and teaching. Yesham kalu mahayogi bharato jeshtah shreshta guna asit. Yenedam varsham bharatam iti vyapadishanti. Yesham, amongst his 100 sons, Bharato Jeshtah. Bharat Maharaj was the eldest. Mahayogi. He was a great yogi. Shreshta Guna Asid, and he had excellent qualities. Yena, and because of him, Idam Varsham, this Varsha, Bharatam iti Vyapadishanti, it is called as Bharata Varsha. So, till then, or not till then, during the reign of Rishabhadev, it was called as Ajanaba Varsha. And then subsequently, after Bharat Maharaj, it became named as Bharatavarsha after Bharat Maharaj. Tam anu Kushavarta Ilavarto Brahmavarto Malayah Ketuhu Badrasena Indrasprig Vidarbha Kikata iti Navanavati Pradanaha. Younger than Bharata but older than the others were the sons named Kushavarta, Ilavarta, Brahmavarta, Malaya, Ketu, Badrasena, Indrasprit, Vidarbha, and Kikata. These were the other younger sons of those who were younger to Bharat Maharaj. So younger than Bharata were 9 sons who were older than the others, which means from Bharata, after Bharata there were 9 and then there were other 90. Using the masculine instead of the neuter in the word pradanaha is poetic license. Okay. Iti Bhagavata Dharma Darshana Nava Mahabhagavataha Tesham Sucharitam Bhagavat Mahima Upabrimhitam Vasudeva Narada Samvadam Upashama Upashamayanam Uparishtad Varnayishyamaha. In addition to these sons were, oh, there is something wrong. I think some part of the verse is missing, I think. Anyways, in addition to these sons were Kavi, Havi, Antariksha, Prabuddha, Pippalayana, Avirhotra, Drumila, Chamasa, and Karabhajana. These were the Navayogendras. Kavir, Havir, Antariksha, Prabuddha, Pippalayana, Avirhotro, Ata Drumilas, Chamasa, Karabhajana. Bhagavata Dharma Darshana, who were all very exalted advanced devotees. Apart from these 10 sons, were the Navayogendras, who were actually very exalted devotees. Uparishtad Varnayishyamaha. I shall hereafter describe Tesham Nava Mahabhagavataha Sucharitam. I shall now explain the characteristics of these 9 devotees. Vasudeva Narada Samvadam. In the conversation between Narada and Vasudeva, in the 11th canto, okay, Bhagavad Mahima Upabrimhitam, which is filled with the glories of the Lord, Upa Shamayanam, and it satisfies the mind. I shall later in the 11th canto describe about these 9 sons, the Navayogendras, okay, in the conversation between Narada and Vasudeva, which means in the 11th canto. Yaviyamsa ekashitir jayanteyaha pitur Adeshakara Mahashalina Mahashrotriya Yajnashilaha Karma Vishuddha Brahmana Babuvuhu. The 81 younger sons of Jayanti who followed the order of their father were humble, learned, and dedicated to performing sacrifice. They were very pure in their activities, thus they became perfectly qualified Brahmanas. So the first 10 became Kshatriyas, the next 9 were Navayogendras, perfected devotees, and then the next 81 were Brahmanas. So this was, that's why Rishabhadev was the supreme personality of Godhead. So not an ordinary personality. Okay, so it was possible for him to beget, those were Brahmanas and Kshatriyas both. Bhagavan Rishabhasamgya Atmatantraha Swayam Nitya Nivritta Anartha Paramparaha Kevala Ananda Anubhava Ishvara Eva Viparitavat Karmani Arabhamanaha Kalena Anugatam Dharmam Acharanena Upashikshayan Atad Vidam Sama Upashanto Maitraha Karuniko Dharmartha Yashaha Prajanandamrita Avarodena Griheshu Lokam Niyamayat. The Supreme Lord named Rishabhadev was independent, eternally free from the succession of material changes, full of bliss, and the sole controller. But like a jiva, he performed prescribed activities and taught dharma, which had been destroyed by showing an example to persons ignorant of dharma. So he himself was the Supreme Lord, but still to set the right example for others, he performed karma. As Krishna himself says, Name parthastu kartavyam trishulokeshu kinchana nanavaptam avaptavyam vartaye vacha karmani. I don't have any duties to perform, but still, if I don't perform, but I still very diligently perform all the mm, prescribed duties. And if I don't perform, people will follow my example and they will also give up these prescribed duties. Therefore, he did. In order to show the right example, he did. And he was equal to all. He was in control of his senses. He was friendly to all and compassionate. And he regulated the people in the household life by having them attain morality, wealth, fame, offspring, and bliss. In this way, he orchestrated everything. Okay. Viparitavat means like the jiva who is not independent. The accusative case should be substituted for the genitive case. By attainment of dharma, etc., he regulated the people. Another version has Nyaramayat, he made blissful. Yadyat Shirshana Shirshanyacharitam Tattad Anuvartate Lokaha. Yadyadacharati Sreshtas Tatadevetarojana. Same thing. Whatever is performed by the best person is followed by the people. So he did it just to set the right example for others. Yadyapi Swaviditam Sakala Dharmam Brahmam Guhyam Brahmanair Darshita Margena Samadibir Upayair Janatam Anushashasa. Though he knew the secret of the Vedic knowledge, the secret of the Vedic knowledge is Shuddha Bhakti, which contains all dharmas, he ruled the people by the path shown by the Brahmanas with sense control and tolerance. So even though he knew Shuddha Bhakti, but still, according to the teachings of the Brahmanas, he taught the Varnashrama Dharma because that is the general dharma for ordinary people. Though he knew the secret explained in the Vedas, which included all, he taught the path shown by the Brahmanas. Dravya Desha Kala Vayaha Shraddha Ritvig Vivida Uddesha Upachitaihi Sarvairapi Kratubir Yatopadesham Dharmas Shatakritva Yaja. He worshipped by performing sacrifices according to the instructions dedicated to various devatas 100 times with abundant ingredients, proper place and time, youth, faith, and peace. Okay. He worshipped by sacrifices filled with abundant ingredients, etc. Age refers to youth because it is said, Yuvaiva dharmam anviched. One should execute dharma during one's youth. He worshipped with various devatas as the object. Bhagavad Rishabena परिरक्ष्यमाण एतस्मिन् वर्षे न कश्चन पुरुषो वाञ्छति अविद्यमानम् इवात्मानो अन्यस्मात् कथञ्चन किमपि कर्हिद् अवेक्षते भर्तरि अनुसवनं विजृम्भित स्नेहातिशयम् अन्तरेण. When Rishabhadev ruled the planet, no one ever desired false objects by taking from others. No one aspired for other people's wealth or anything of that sort. Everyone constantly accepted Rishabdev as the greatest object of affection. With their whole self, they accepted him as their whole self. Okay. It says, while the planet was protected by Rishabhadev, no one had any desire for anything non existent like a flower in the sky of himself by taking from others. Everyone had only great affection with their total selves for Rishabhadev. According to Amarakosha, the word antara means opportunity, space, period, cloth, disappearance, difference in reference to an opening, one's own, except, outside, occasion, within, and the inner soul. These are the various meanings of the word antara. Okay. So, in this particular context, it means their own selves. I think this is the last verse, I guess. स कदाचित् अटमानो भगवान् ऋषभो ब्रह्मावर्तगतो ब्रह्मर्षि प्रवर सभायां प्रजानां निशामयन्तीनाम् आत्मजाम् अवहितात्मनः प्रश्रय प्रणय भर सुयन्त्रितानपि उपशिक्षयन् इति होवाच. Once while traveling, Rishabha, the Supreme Lord, arriving at Brahmavarta, and there he taught his attentive sons who were self controlled and filled with obedience and devotion in an assembly of the best Brahmanas and sages. While the citizens listened, he spoke as follows. So, Rishabhadev's teachings to his sons, headed by Bharat Maharaj, that will be a very, very important chapter. Oftentimes, there are many often quoted verses by Srila Prabhupada also in the next chapter. So, that we will start tomorrow. But for now, it is mentioned that Rishabhadev reached Brahmavarta, and at Brahmavarta, he taught his sons, attentive sons, various teachings. So those teachings of Rishabhadev will be next chapter. We will start it tomorrow. Thus ends the commentary on the fourth chapter of the fifth canto of the Bhagavatam for the pleasure of the devotees in accordance with the previous acharyas. Okay. Any quick discussion points, comments, questions, anything anyone would like to share, ask, and we can take it right now. Okay. I think there is something in the chat box. Let's take. Okay. Oh, there is nothing in the chat box. Okay. Only direct questions. Okay. Madhavi Gopi Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam.
Dandat Pranam.
Prabhuji, initially when we discuss about Vanaprastha and those ashramas, na, so I have this one question from long time. Once one takes sannyas, means not the ISKCON sannyasis, because ISKCON sannyasis, they are in the preaching work. But in traditional system, once when one takes sannyas,
Yeah.
what practices they follow, Prabhuji? Means it is a karma, so definitely it is not there, but jnana, yoga, or Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti,
Yeah.
what is it? Because Prithu Maharaj followed is Ashtanga Yoga after he, although he was a Bhakta, after he
Yeah.
was, yeah, like that. So,
No, but that Ashtanga Yoga is not exactly Ashtanga Yoga. It is created. It is those practices were generated by his natural prema. So those need not be evaluated as Ashtanga or anything. It was bhakti only, but it is just like the gopis worshipping Katyayani Devi or Surya Dev,
okay,
like that,
okay,
like that.
okay. But otherwise, other sannyasis, what they follow, Prabhuji, after sannyas, which path they follow?
Yeah, they follow either the path which is predominated by Ashtanga or predominated by Jnana. But either way, it has some elements of Ashtanga, some elements of Jnana, and definitely elements of Bhakti.
Okay, so those who are already in the whole life, they are practicing Ashtanga Yoga. After sannyas, they will practice Ashtanga Yoga. Those who are practicing Jnana, after sannyas, they will further follow Jnana along with little bit Bhakti, like that, no?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, and devotees will follow the devotional practices only after sannyas
yeah,
also.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, thank you so much.
Correct. Mother Gail.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I also have a question on this subject. So it
Mhm,
seems like those on the bhakti path who take
mhm.
up sannyas for preaching purposes,
Yeah.
it seems like it seems like it's only on paper actually that they have the freedom to change ashram if they no longer feel that that ashram suits them,
Mhm,
right? Even though they're not in the traditional path, karma
mhm.
path, because there's such a heavy, how should I say,
Stigma.
kind of, yeah, with that ashram, so that even if you're on the sannyas, on the bhakti path,
Mhm.
for social considerations, you really still don't have that option, it seems to me, to
Yeah.
become grihastha.
I yeah, I very much agree with your point. Yeah, it is. I would say it's a very the way the society looks at this whole ashram. It is better that someone who is very advanced only take up to that ashram. Otherwise, you know, otherwise just for preaching considerations, if you take up, then um, then I think they should be really very thick-skinned if at later part of their life, if they choose to change and the social stigma is really stinging them very hard, they should be thick-skinned to, continue to practice sincerely in whatever ashram they choose later. Um,
But even if they're thick-skinned, for like, because you gave that example before, right? That because of the effect that it would have on society, you
yeah,
know, you should, not everything you should do for the sake of your own personal
yeah,
advancement, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So even if you're thick-skinned, I would think in certain cases. But this brings me to a similar question. Um, in the tradition on the traditional path, if a person has mistakenly taken up to Vanaprasth or sannyas like this,
Mhm.
you say, it's a one-way traffic, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, the person cannot just commit suicide. What are they actually to do?
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
yeah,
Krishna doesn't
it's
want
a
them to
very
just.
yeah, it's a very unfortunate thing, in that particular life, their progress gets stunted there actually.
Yeah, but I just know that Krishna doesn't want anybody to feel hopeless. So there must be some remedial um, course that they can take. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
otherwise,
there must be some remedial courses which are very, very kind of not so easy to take also. Uh, yeah, that may be given in the Dharma Shastras. We will have to see that.
oh, okay, Prabhu. I think one last thing um, is only that this personality Anga, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I've lost track of. I know there's. I think I'm confusing up the names because.
Hmm.
Okay, can you just explain to me who is Anga in relationship to this genealogy?
Yeah,
Anga.
Swayambhuva Manu, his son was Priyavrat Maharaj. Priyavrat Maharaj's son
Yeah,
was Agnidra, and Agnidra's son was
yeah.
Anga.
Uh, you said Priyavrata son was
Agnidra.
Agnidra. Yeah, no. Agnidra I know, but Anga. You keep talking
Agnidra's
about this
son is
Anga.
Anga.
Oh, Agnidra's son is Anga.
Sorry,
But
sorry, not.
then,
Oh, I'm sorry. Agnidra's son is Nabi. Nabi.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah, that's what I
Maybe
know.
by mistake I said Anga. I'm sorry.
Yes,
Okay, I got.
no,
Oh,
several
oh, I'm sorry.
times, several times, not just
Oh,
this
I'm
lecture.
sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I okay, I got completely confused. I'm sorry. I I I had Nabi in my mind, but by mistake I told Anga, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, you just
Yeah,
misspoke.
I
Okay,
myself
so
remember telling the word Anga many times. But
yeah,
I
many
what I meant
times.
was Nabi. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Okay, okay,
I'm sorry. Yeah,
okay.
mistake.
All cleared up. Thank you, Prabhu. That was it.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Prabhu. Also, we said Rishabdev was the first of the 100, right? Then
Yeah,
comes the okay.
nine other
Where the
Kshatriyas.
then comes nine others, and then comes the Navayugendras
Yeah,
after
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, great. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare. Yes, Sachipuran Prabhu.
Haribol Dandatana Prabhuji, please accept.
Dandavat. You
Prabhuji,
can
how
say.
to understand the Indra's action? Because every time when matter of Indra comes now, I'm get really confused. He sometimes stop rains. So it is in Brahma Vimol Lila we can understand like all these Leelas is Indra. How can we understand through our mind, Prabhuji? Like he only providing Jayanti again to Rishabh Dev.
Yeah, there must be some. Yeah, I mean, it is. You do see, the father handing over his daughter to the son-in-law, and later fighting with the son-in-law. You do see this, right? So yeah, these are. He can also be overcome by material emotions. Indra is not a perfected devotee here. Uh, So he's a mixed devotee and still struggling occasionally with certain anarthas like envy, like in Brahma Vimohan Leela, in the episode of the Parijata tree.
Mm.
And now here also in this case, there must be some reason why this happened.
Mm. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Right. Shyam Sundaranand Prabhu.
Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam.
Dandavat
Prabhuji,
Prabhu.
one quick question about the terminology which our acharyas use,
Mhm,
especially here many times whenever the Bhagavatam description say they say Brahmana,
mhm,
our acharyas say Vaishnava, and
mhm,
sometimes there is a direct connotation saying Vaishnavas also. So,
mm.
is it like this connotation which was given as Vaishnavas is a recent addition of our Parampara Acharyas, or is it like in traditionally also someone followed it? Or in other Sampradayas like Sri Vaishnavas or Madhvas, so they have also used this terminology
You mean, uh,
to
I-
interpret the Bhagavat word Brahmana Vaishnava.
see, actually, uh, मुखबाहुरुपादेभ्यः पुरुषस्य आश्रमैः सह चत्वारो जज्ञिरे वर्णा गुणैर्विप्रादय पृथक् येषां पुरुषं साक्षात् आत्मप्रभवमीश्वरं न भजन्ति अवजानन्ति स्थानात् भ्रष्टात् पतन्त्यतः. You know this verse, right?
No, that
The 11th canto, you know, talking about Navayogendras. This is Navayogendra's teachings to Nimi Maharaj. They say that the four varnas and four ashramas, they they constitute the various limbs of the bodies of the Supreme Lord. And just like it is the role of the individual limbs to serve the whole body, similarly, all the ashramas and varnas are meant to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the process of bhakti.
mm,
But na bhajanti avajananti. But if they do not worship because of not having sufficient respect or disrespect, Tanat brashtat patandyadaha. They fall down from their position of varnashrama. Once they give up worship. Then what to speak of those who do not worship at all? They are, in the strictest sense, they do not fall within the category of varnashrama. So actually, in the strictest definition, please get my terminology right. In the strictest definition, okay, we may not always use the strictest definition. In the strictest definition, there is nothing like demigod worshipping Brahmanas, demigod worshipping Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, etc. Okay, that is just, you can, it may be there, you can say that it is just like, they have these, during Diwali, you have these guns in which you put the, what do you call, the crackers, you put that,
Yeah.
and then
I know.
children, they keep
Yes.
shooting
Yes.
with those guns. Okay.
Yes.
They are also called as guns only. Okay. But they can't shoot down anyone. They only create noise.
Correct.
Okay. Similarly, those who are not worshippers of Vishnu may also be called with these varnashrama designations. But in the strictest sense, they are not within the strictest system of varnashrama. So by default, if the Bhagavatam talks about Brahmanas, they must at least be Vishnu worshippers, for sure.
Okay, so you are saying that first of all, there is no Bhagavad terminology. We are not going to the interpretation. We are saying that the terminology itself is indicating the Vaishnavas only. So in that case, then everyone who is even a Shudra who is the part of that Varnashrama should be a Vishnu worshipper.
Yeah.
So then why do we why do the Shastras talk about when they talk about the Sudras especially? They say that they talk about him as a lower category. So this is very different from the picturization or interpretation given by at least our recent acharyas. In Vaishnavas, there is no classification. I mean, there is no higher lower. They say, right?
No. So when we are talking about those who have accept amongst Vishnu worshippers, some of their worship may be mixed with karma, jnana, etc. And some of the worshippers may be pure Vishnu worshippers without any, uh, without any mixture of karma, jnana, etc. So amongst pure Vaishnavas, we don't ideally make any discrimination in terms of, varna. This is a Brahmana Vaishnava, this is a Shudra Vaishnava, etc. But when there is mixture of karma, jnana, etc., or at least if there is mixture of karma, then those type of classifications are there. So now, when we say the Shudras are glorious in terms of uh, their worship of Vishnu. In that sense, they are equal to the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas. But if you see the Shudras, they are predominated by the mode of ignorance, which is considered to be a lower mode. Okay. In comparison to that, the Brahmanas are predominantly in Sattva, which is considered to be a higher mode. So, in that sense, there could be a hierarchy that is presented. But they're all same in the sense that they all worship Vishnu. In that sense, they are all same.
Still not convincing, Prabhu, because the Shastras, when we talk about, for example, Ramchandra, he saw a Shudra doing tapasya, he cut off his
Yeah.
head. These stories
Yeah.
we see.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't befit in the terminology of a Vaishnava doing this.
No. So, okay. I am surprised that this question, I mean, of course, in the outside world, they raise a serious concern about this act of,
No, I am not worried about Ramchandra cutting off the head of a Shudra. No.
uh,
And no. I am worried. I am just asking a question based upon our understanding of
So,
a Vaishnava and
okay.
and the
See,
classification in between the Vaishnava.
okay.
Yes.
See, the word Vaishnava has a very broad usage across, it can mean multiple things.
Mm,
Sometimes the word Vaishnava means a pure devotee,
mm,
means who has pure faith. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma dhyanavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruttama. He
mm,
is Vaishnava. Okay.
mm,
So, in such a definition of Vaishnava, uh, everyone else who has a mixture of karma, jnana, etc., they will be called as Mishra Bhaktas or mixed
mm,
Vaishnavas.
mm,
And if in that mixture, if the predominance of karma, jnana, yoga is more than bhakti, then they will be called as Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, Ashtanga Yogi, like that.
mm,
Okay. So now there may be a more general um, definition of the word Vaishnava. Anyone who worships Vishnu is a Vaishnava.
mm,
In that sense, that word Vaishnava includes the Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, Ashtanga Yogi, the Karma Mishra Bhakta, Jnana Mishra Bhakta, Yoga Mishra Bhakta, Shuddha Bhakta, all of them. Because all of them worship Vishnu.
mm.
So the word Vaishnava can be used in a more generic sense, in a more specific sense, or anywhere in between. So we have to know the context in which the word is used there. So yeah, so that is about the usage of the word. Now I'm trying to understand what exactly is your question.
So my question is when especially when I read many of Srila Prabhupada's purports. So
Hmm.
Prabhupada, wherever there is a terminology coming
Mm,
of a Brahmana,
mm,
especially in the sections of descriptions of worshipping the Brahmanas or glorifying the Brahmanas or
mhm,
something like that. So
mm.
Prabhupada most of the time writes as Vaishnavas and Brahmanas. Either sometimes it is like Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, or sometimes it could be specifically Vaishnavas. I don't remember at least the specifical Vaishnavas when the Brahmana
Yeah.
is mentioned, but at
Mm,
least I many couple of times I remember reading whenever the word comes Brahmana, he writes as Brahmanas and Vaishnavas.
yeah.
So that is my question. Like this interpretation of the word Brahmana, is
Mm,
it referring to specifically Vaishnavas in from the scriptures itself, or is it like
Yeah.
the our parampara acharyas
No,
have
no, no, no,
used
no,
this
no.
terminology to create a classification between a pure devotee and a normal person? Like what is it exactly? That is what.
No. If the scripture is talking about a Brahmana, he is by default a Vaishnava in the sense he is a Vishnu worshipper.
Okay, so that is what I am trying to also understand. Like
Yeah.
now you have explained to me and a couple of classifications,
Yeah.
like three kinds of considerations how we can say as a Vaishnava, who is a pure Vaishnava, who is a pure Vaishnava Bhakta. There are Mishra Bhaktas, is a general terminology, right?
Yeah.
So, so there, if we, my next question is a Mishra Bhakta
Mm.
considered to be uh, 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 like practicing pure devotee or not?
No. Mishra Bhakta means his practice involves, is mixed with karma, jnana, or yoga. He is not considered to be a practicing pure devotee. A practicing pure devotee is a Vaidhi sadhaka.
Then how do you fit this definition into what you just said? If we are saying that everyone is for example, there
Mm.
is a classification like pure devotees and there are mixed devotees.
Yeah. When I say,
So
well, I am using the word pure in terms of faith, not in terms of,
correct.
uh,
So
yeah.
whatever it may
I'm,
be.
yeah.
Uh, so when we say that
Mm,
Prabhupada, when he is using the word Brahmana, he is
mm,
meaning a Vaishnava. So
mm.
where in Prabhupada, how do we understand in which context Prabhupada is mentioning as a Vaishnavas? Is referring to the practicing pure devotees or pure devotees, or he is using the word Vaishnava to a general connotation also. So how do we
Okay.
understand? Is it like in a context we have to understand?
Yeah, we will have to end with this particular thing. I will just touch this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you actually said the answer also. We will have to see
Okay.
the context. So if you
Okay.
can, if someone, I think maybe not just you, maybe
Hmm.
few devotees
Hmm.
find out particular purports in which, Prabhupada has, interchangeably used Brahmanas, Vaishnavas like that. We will take those
Okay.
purports and try to understand the context because it will change with context.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll end
Thank you.
here. Thank you all very much for your patient listening and your enthusiastic participation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very
Great.
much.